against Ohio State for the 91st time. The standings tell the story. Penn State is headed to Pasadena in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State and Michigan at 5-2. They will play for a berth in the Citrus Bowl. Coming up next, it's Ohio State and Michigan. Does the home team have an edge? Not in this rivalry. Not gray, not overcast, no rain. A beautiful day and a fast track for these two teams. Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger.
Last night, the University of Michigan locker room was broken into, and 6 helmets were stolen. Some from very important people like Todd Collins, Amani Toomer, and also Tyrone Wheatley. Now, everybody got helmets to replace them except for Toomer. Toomer won't have a normal receiver's helmet today. They only bring so many replacement helmets. Some other weird things have been happening since we've been to Columbus as well. All through the week, when we walked on the streets, when we watched the TV, listened on the radio, everybody was saying that the outcome of this game could determine the future for Ohio State's head coach, John Cooper. Now, he has one more year left on his contract, but many people say that whether he wins this game or not could determine whether he's back in Columbus or not. Now, according to the athletic director, Andy Geiger, and Gordon Gee, the president of Ohio State, they will not make any sort of determination on Cooper's future until after the season. But let me tell you, the feeling down here and all throughout Columbus is how they do in this game will determine whether we'll see John Cooper back in Ohio State in the Horseshoe in 1995. A lot of action underway, and we'll be back with it and the kickoff right after this.
John Cooper, winless in this series, would love to break through, but let me give you a set of numbers that are unbelievable. The home team, I mentioned that no home team enjoys an advantage in this series. It is 43 victories for the home team, 41 for the road team, and 6 ties. That defines a rivalry, doesn't it? Coach Moeller won the flip. He did not defer. The Wolverines will take the ball. They wish to go on offense, so the Bucks will kick it off. Mike Malfat, the freshman from Dublin, Ohio, puts the ball down on the tee here for the Bucks. It's an interesting mood in Columbus this week. I expected it might be anger, but it was not. They are very optimistic, and why not? The Wolverines have been leaking touchdown passes in that defensive backfield. Here's the 602nd kickoff in Michigan-Ohio State history from the 15-yard line with Seth Smith going nowhere.
Stepped up. He is looking for someone for him from his Buckeye football team to step up and not play good, but to play great and to give them a win. Keith?
All right, Swanee, thanks very much. Michigan has won the toss. They will defer. They want to start the second half with the ball. So the Buckeyes will have it as Hayden Epstein kicks it off for the white-shirted Wolverines. Michael Wiley and Jonathan Wells are waiting for it. It's Wiley drifting well back into the end zone, and Michael will not return it. It'll come out to the 20. And Chili's starting lineup for the Buckeyes. Then along the front, the left tackle is very, very important today. You got to keep the quarterback alive and upright. 2 of the best in the country at wide receiver for the Buckeyes, David Boston and D. Miller. Boston, the career leader for Ohio State with 170 catches and 32 touchdowns. In the backfield, senior tailback Joe Montgomery gets the start primarily because he is a senior, has come back from a big injury. Michael Wiley will play probably more than Montgomery today. Quarterback Joe Germain and the receivers may have to win this one because in the Big Ten and the big games, you stop the run.
The young quarterback. He's from nearby, suburban Detroit native, so Krenzel with a lot of pressure on his shoulders. The Buckeyes and the Wolverines set to go. Right now, we take you over to the PA announcer for our national memory. And of course, 5-1 against Ohio State. The Wolverines have won the toss. They deferred to the second half. Hayden Epstein, the veteran, the senior who won the game a week ago against Wisconsin, with a field goal with 10 seconds left. They'll get us underway. Here we go in Ann Arbor. Maurice Hall running Brandon Childress back deep. Hall taking it 5 yards deep. They'll go to one knee. And the Buckeyes will start 1st and 10 from their own 20. Craig Krenzel, we talked about him in the open. All the pressure on his shoulders. Utica, Michigan native. Right down the road in suburban Detroit. Came on last week. There are the numbers. He led Ohio State on 3 strong drives in relief of Scott McMullen, who started the game. But he threw the 2 interceptions and the one that really turned the game around late in the...
One win away from a shot at a national championship. The shoe in Columbus, Ohio is rocking today. A record crowd. But the next stop for the Buckeyes will be the toughest of all. Their arch rivals from Michigan. It's Michigan against Ohio State. That's all you have to say about this classic matchup. Welcome, everybody. With Gary Danielson, I'm Brent Musburger. There's no feeling like being down on the field for this, Gary, with the bands and the players and everything.
No, right, Brent. All week it's been hype. You know, how do you win this game? All the experts have said everything. Tackling, hold on to the football, catch the football, defense, offensive line. You know, they're all right. But being down here with these guys, I got a feeling it's going to be a wild card today. I think Maurice Clarett is going to have to play to beat Michigan.
And the fellas in behind us are all members of championships past here at Ohio State. The last time they have won one is 1968. Can they do it again? They'll have to get through Michigan. The kickoff is coming up next.
Head coach of the Buckeyes, Jim Tressel. I got to ask you about Maurice Clarett. You've decided to start or not start the freshman.
You know, he probably won't start, but he's going to play significant.
How important is his play today to winning this game?
Well, everyone's play is going to be crucial. Everyone will be ready to go.
Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Jack, that was a wonderful moment. We caught Jimmy. He has been looking at the coin flip. I did not see it, but obviously Michigan won and deferred, and he was yelling for the return unit. You got such a great insight into the hands-on control that Tressel has over this Ohio State football team. Believe me, he is the one who calls the plays. He looks at his offensive chart. He lets the defensive coaches take care of that. But Jim Tressel has been hands-on. Now, over the last 50 years, ladies and gentlemen, and Gary Danielson said, Brent, this is the most amazing stat. Look at this. 24, 24, and 2. That began with the second year of the Woody Hayes regime. And, of course, in the 90s, the Wolverines dominated the Buckeyes. Lloyd Carr, an assistant coach under Gary Moeller. Then he became the head coach, but still the dominance continued. Three times in the 90s, they upset undefeated Buckeye teams. And so now the Wolverines will kick it off with Philip Brabs, 22 touchbacks on 35 kickoffs. There is a little bit of a breeze. We'll see how that helps him here. He'll send it on the ground, fielded at the 7-yard line by Maurice Hall. Hall, who will be the starting running back today, ridden out of bounds at the 26.
Ohio, memories of Woody and Bo abound. Folks, this is Ohio State of Michigan. So, Gary, what do you put your finger on is the key guys in this game?
Well, not to go against Woody Hayes. I wouldn't attempt to do that. But, you know, in this football game, usually the hitting kind of equalizes out. I think the quarterbacks have to come through in this game. And we have young ones. Chad Henne, a true freshman. Troy Smith only starting his 5th game. Those two guys have to tip the balance. Now, remember this. In the long history of this game, no true freshman at quarterback has ever won it. It's only the 4th time it's happened, but they're 0-3.
Jim Tressel's Buckeyes will handle the ball first here as Michigan won the coin toss. They will defer. Now the Big Ten, they have 7 bowl spots, and if you have 6 wins, then you've already qualified for a bowl. Michigan wants to go to Pasadena and represent the conference out there. Ohio State, even though they're under 500 in the Big Ten, they're at 6-4, and perhaps a win and upset would send them to, let's say, the Alamo Bowl in Texas. There has been a lot of discussion about that here locally. And of course, 2 other teams will head to Florida for the Big Ten. They'll go to Orlando. They'll go to Tampa. Both Northwestern and Michigan State must win out. And we are underway here in Columbus, Ohio. It'll come out on the 20-yard line. And so Troy Smith, who took over for Justin Zwick midway through the season, only a sophomore. He was a teammate of Ginn's, played for Ted Ginn's father in high school.
That day has arrived again. All you need to say, the Michigan Wolverines against the Ohio State Buckeyes.
So Dave Whitvet, a veteran referee, is in charge of our crew here. Jim Trussell, Lloyd Carr, matching up today. And for all the advantage that Lloyd had against John Cooper in the past, he's lost that edge against Jim Trussell so far. And in 4 years, Trussell has beaten Michigan 3 of the 4 times that they have played. So the Buckeyes will be receiving and going into a little bit of a light breeze here today. And what Lloyd Carr is hoping for is that this kickoff goes out of the end zone and number 7, Ted Ginn Jr., does not get a chance. He's the lone deep man back on the goal line. And here you see the punter, Ross Ryan, with the ball on the tee. And now Holmes drops back deep with him, and that is exactly what Carr. More than 100,000 on hand cheering Troy Smith, and awaiting him, head coach Jim Trussell. And then it was into the arms of his mother, Tracy Smith, and his sister, Brittany Smith. Such a rich tradition between these 2 schools. Michigan #1, Ohio State #5 in victories. Troy Smith has won the last 2 showdowns against Chad Henne. 9 Heisman trophies between the 2 schools. Lloyd Carr with the national title. Jim Trussell with the national title. And both of them trying to get back again to the championship game. The winner, no doubt, will go to Glendale, Arizona to play for it as the Wolverines come out on the field. And you know, when you look across the way, you can't help but think about Bo Schembechler. Of course, he passed away yesterday after delivering his final speech to the team the night before. We can only reflect on what's going through the minds of coaches and players.
The Big Ten has lost a legend and icon. Ohio State has lost an alumnus and friend. The Schembechler family has lost a beloved father, grandfather, and husband. Bo made the game of football better in every way. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and everyone who mourns his passing.
State Buckeyes. And what an honor that is for Bill Lemonnier, the referee. He will bring the co-captains out to the middle of the field, and coin toss about to take place. And in a game like this, normally when you talk to coaches, they would prefer to win the toss and defer.
And Brent, one thing, I've had a lot of experience with Big Ten officials. Sometimes you only think of this in basketball in a big game, but I think it's very important that these officials, and I think they will, let these guys play today. There's some great match-outs at wide receiver and DB. Also let them play right up through the whistle.
Captains, honored to be here. Please introduce yourselves. Gentlemen, we're privileged to have Mr. Paul Warfield here to help us with the coin toss. A simple heads and a tails, your call. Heads is the call. Paul, will you do the options? Let it hit the ground. It's come up tails. Ohio State, you've won the toss. Ohio State's won the toss and deferred to the second half.
Well, this is such a great rivalry, but you know, I have 5 others that I'd put on my all-time best list that I've had the pleasure to be around besides Michigan. We've got a heavyweight battle. Ohio State and Troy Smith against Michigan as we check in with Lisa.
Well, Brent, it is game day, but no doubt for the Michigan Wolverines, players will be playing this game with heavy hearts because of the passing of Bo Schembechler. I talked to one Wolverine assistant coach about an hour and a half ago, and he said, I've been in shock for about 24 hours ever since I heard about what happened yesterday. But all in all, he said, I think we're going to be okay. Schembechler did talk to players on Thursday, the day before he died. I'm told that he talked to them about the importance of this rivalry, the importance of this game, and about how proud he was of them for everything they've already accomplished. Now with more on the Buckeyes, here's Bonnie Bernstein.
Lisa, not much to report on Ohio State's injury front. Left tackle Alex Boone is back after missing 2 weeks with a knee. The field here at Ohio Stadium was actually on IR for a while, but after being resodded a few weeks ago, the players saying it's in good shape. Last but not least, Jim Tressel managed to find a way to entirely lose his voice on Wednesday, but he told me after drinking more tea with honey than I could ever imagine, I got it back. But he said, really, does it matter? They're not going to be able to hear me in here.
And that is the truth, Bonnie. This is one of the noisiest venues in college football. And finally, we are underway. And it'll go out of the end zone, come out on the 20-yard line. Quarterback, Chad Henne. And
welcome, everybody, to ABC's College Football presented by Kay Jewelers. As Showdown Saturday begins from the Horseshoe, Ohio Stadium in Columbus, is one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports, is renewed for the 95th consecutive year and the 109th time overall. Michigan and Ohio State. And during the pregame warm-up, the whooping and the physical contact has already begun. As is so often the case, this game is important for both teams beyond the intense desire to beat their spirited rival. A Michigan win would earn the Wolverines a share of the Big Ten's Legends Division title with Nebraska, although the Huskers have already clinched the trip to the Big Ten championship game by virtue of their win over Michigan. Ohio State has already won the Leaders Division, but they're not eligible for postseason play because of a one-year ban, so they'll finish their season today trying for just the 6th unbeaten and untied season in the 123-year history of Ohio State football. Hi, everybody. Sean McDonough, Chris Spielman, joined in a moment by Quint Kessenich. Delighted to have you with us. Chris, you played in 4 of these games. You still have the single-game tackle record with an amazing 29. What's it like for these players right now?
Well, I think it's such an honor for them. It's been my greatest honor from high school, college to pro. This game was the best honor I ever had as a player, and it's because of the game itself means so much to so many people. And Sean, for me, it was always the cleanest and most hard-hitting game that I've ever played in.
And your alma mater is 11-0, although Coach Urban Meyer says this is not a great team. Yesterday called them a ham and egg outfit that has found a way to win all 11 times. And the man who leads the way on the field is Braxton Miller.
Yeah, Braxton Miller is some kind of athlete, and he can hurt you with his arm and mainly his feet that often.
Meanwhile, Michigan is 8-3. The Wolverines have had a very interesting year. 3 games ago, their great quarterback Denard Robinson went down with an arm injury. Devin Gardner took over at quarterback, and they haven't lost since.
You know, it's amazing to me what Devin Gardner has been able to accomplish in such a short time. Taking reps at wide receiver all year long. Takes over 2.5 games ago, and the numbers are fascinating. 65%, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he can throw the ball deep. Now, what keeps Luke Fickell, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, up? Denard Robinson. How will offensive coordinator Al Borges choose to use him? Nobody knows but Al and Denard, because Denard didn't do any offense during the pregame warm-up, so they didn't give any type of pre-snap look or pregame look to the Buckeye defense.
It's Showdown Saturday, about to get underway. Michigan and Ohio State, the kickoff right after this.
And we learned just a short while ago that Ohio State will play the game without one of its best players. Down to the field we go. Here's Quint Kessenich.
Ohio State will be without their best defensive player. That's defensive end John Simon, who leads the Big Ten in sacks. Had 4 last week against Wisconsin, but he injured the burster sack in his right knee. It swelled up to the size of a grapefruit. He was unable to practice this week. He did not warm up, and before this game, he walked out when the seniors were introduced. in sweatpants. He will not play. Sean, his mom was in tears. Simon is the hardest worker on this team. He's the leader of this senior class. He is the soul of the Buckeyes.
And a two-time captain, one of only 7 in the history of this program. A huge part of their team, both from a leadership standpoint and for his skills on the field. It's a major loss that Ohio State will have to overcome. Michigan won the toss and deferred. So Matt Weil kicks off for the Wolverines, and a boomer through the back of the end zone over the head of Bradley Roby. Doesn't ordinarily return kickoffs. He's
watching the ESPN Rivalry Series presented by Jiffy Lube.
We welcome you to ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers as part of ESPN's Rivalry Series presented by Jiffy Lube. The 111th meeting between Ohio State and Michigan. Dave Pasch alongside Brian Griese. Brian, you know what it takes to win this game, 3-0 in your tenure at Michigan against the Buckeyes. So which quarterback is facing more pressure today?
Well, I think it's got to be J.T. Barrett. Everything on the line for Ohio State, a spot in the top 4 in the college football playoffs still there. And his first time playing in this game as a redshirt freshman, you know the nerves are there. And this Michigan defense, a top 10 defense, will be ready to play.
Michigan and Ohio State. Kickoff is coming up from Columbus. ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Since 1935, Ohio State and Michigan have met on the final Big Ten Saturday of November. The Buckeyes won the toss, elected to defer, so Michigan will receive. Kyle Clinton will kick off to Dennis Norfleet. And the 111th edition of the game is underway. Norfleet on the goal line. And nowhere to go. He is wrapped up and thrown down at the 10.
And our matchup, timeless. Since 1897, all you have to do is say the game. Today, it's Ohio State and Michigan for the 112th time. Both teams ranked in the top 10. The winner of this game will become the biggest fans of the Nittany Lions a little bit later on this afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Brad Nessler along with Todd Blackledge. We don't talk about Ohio State losing very often, partner. They dropped the three-pointer last week to Michigan State, their only blemish on their record. Yeah. And you got to kind of wonder how they bounce back this week.
Yeah, because it wasn't just the fact that they lost, but it was how they lost. It was such a disappointing game and performance, particularly by their offense. And here's the deal with Ohio State. They're still a great football team. Defensively, they've played at a championship level all the way through the year. But offensively, for whatever reason, they just seem like they've never completely been in sync. Whether it's been the quarterback shuffle, whatever it is, they were terrible last week. 132 total yards, 5 first downs. We won't see that Ohio State team today. We'll see a very explosive offense in good weather conditions with their playmakers touching the football.
You know, since December 30th of last year, I, for one, and I'm sure the rest of the country feels this way, been waiting since Jim Harbaugh got hired to see the matchup of Harbaugh and Urban Meyer on the same field.
Well, what Jim Harbaugh has brought to Michigan, he's brought a certain edginess, he's brought a toughness, he's breathed a competitive fire into this program that has really had an impact, and they've gotten better and better each week of the season. And I think they're a confident team that comes into this game believing, maybe for the first time in the last few years, that they'll be the best team on the field today.
It's going to be fun. The 112th matchup between the Buckeyes of Ohio State and the Wolverines of Michigan. Maybe the greatest rivalry in all of sports, if not college football at least. They started 118 years ago. Michigan won that one 34-0. But Ohio State's won 12 of the last 14. Michigan leads when both teams are ranked. This is the 46th time that they will meet here in the Big House at Michigan Stadium. Before we kick, check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, one of the big questions for this rivalry game is, will Ohio State's offense get back on track? Of course, everyone's heard all week about the comments that Ezekiel Elliott made. He wanted the ball more in their loss last week. He had just 12 carries for 33 yards, only 2 carries in the second half. I did ask their offensive coordinator, Ed Warner, how they would be more efficient, how they would get the calls in better this week against Michigan. And he said he's actually going to go upstairs in the booth for the first time in his coaching career with Ohio State. So Tim Beck, Ed Warner sitting side by side, 2 co-offensive coordinators coordinators. Urban Meyer is involved in quite a few of the play calls. They are going to try a new, simplified communication system today in this big rivalry game.
Urban Meyer, in his 4th year as a head coach at Ohio State, an unbelievable record of 48-4. Jim Harbaugh, first season in Ann Arbor, 9-2. Michigan ranked 10th. Ohio State number 8. Who's going to play Iowa in the Big Ten championship? We're going to find that out in about 7.5 hours. We started here, and then it's Michigan State and Penn State later on in the day. The winner of this one, should the Spartans lose, would be the East representative in the Big Ten title game. Ohio State won the toss and deferred. Jack Willoughby to kick. J.U. Chesson and Jordan Lewis wait on the other end. Here we go from the goal line. Lewis had a little seam. It closed in a hurry as he crossed the 20-yard line out to the 21.
2011, 5 years ago today, but have not won in Columbus since the year 2000. The Buckeyes have been very, very hard to beat here, period. Harbaugh trying to avoid starting 0-2 against the Buckeyes, and Meyer trying to extend it to 5-0. Michigan has not yet arrived at the tunnel. Now they just appear. A team that Jim Harbaugh says will find that sweet spot between being too keyed up but not focused enough. He believes this bunch has the belief necessary to pull this upset today. Harbaugh hasn't been back here since he was a player and guaranteed a Michigan victory, delivering on that in '86. Michigan team that stumbled a couple of weeks ago in their biggest road test until this one at Iowa. Got through in the snow a week ago against Indiana. These Wolverines ready for this. It's a veteran team loaded with seniors who have one final crack at the Buckeyes. You can hear, you can feel the hunger in this group. There's Jabril Peppers, the star of this team that will try to make plays in 3 different phases to help his team win. And the national anthem. Lived the intensity of this rivalry as the son of a captain. As a captain here yourself, you've covered some great ones. Interesting backdrop, high stakes. What will decide this for Ohio State, in your opinion, if they win it?
I think, first of all, maintaining your emotion and allowing those emotions to work for you instead of getting so amped up they can work against you. I've been on that side of it. When I was at Ohio State, it meant so much as a senior to try to knock off Michigan because it'd been a while, and so Michigan has to guard against that. I think, Chris, for Ohio State, honestly, it comes down to their ability to make plays and being aggressive. I think Urban Meyer this year, there have been times when they've opened it up, and there have been times when they've kind of just managed the game. And I think this is a game where he's going to have to be willing to take chances and open some things up and give J.T. Barrett a chance to be aggressive throwing the football.
And for Michigan, there is intrigue at the quarterback position right down to the final moments. Watching on the field there, you got Wilton Spate. You got, there he is, number 3 there, injured a couple of weeks ago. That shoulder, that left shoulder. He's available, says Harbaugh. John O'Corn out there throwing the ball as well. This would be his 18th start, but just his 2nd at Michigan. Samantha Ponder joins us on the field.
Well, Coach, we talked earlier about the distraction and the hype of all of this, but you know your guys better than anybody. So what's the biggest indicator to you that they can handle it today?
Oh, they've been a good team all year. They're fun to coach. They're guys that when it's time to lock in, they listen and they go.
Coach, you know when it comes to Michigan, he's answering a question. JT's trying to get some info. He tells him that way. All right, one more for you, Coach. Still coaching. You know this Michigan team can run the ball effectively, so what's the key to slowing down their running game tonight?
It's always can you negate the line of scrimmage, and our defensive line, you know, they've been getting better and better all year, but it's anytime you want to stop the run, you try to get an extra hat in the box, but you got to control line of scrimmage.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach. Chris?
Sam, thank you very much. Talked to Coach Jim Harbaugh pre-kick, asked him the status of Wilton Speight, Chris. He said what you indicated. He's available with a big smile, but maybe more indicative, he worked out with the number ones and the starters for the majority of the warm-ups, throwing 30-yard outs. How he can receive contact with that injured shoulder, an open question. As for the message to his team from Harbaugh, he was simple. What's come before is the regular season. This is a playoff game. That was his message, referencing back to his time in the NFL. Certainly the stakes back that up, Chris.
Thank you. There is Jabril Peppers, who will try to make an impact as a kick returner here. Well, it's going to be very intriguing to see, Kirk, how this Michigan offense operates if Speight comes back in there less than 100%.
43 seniors on this team. I think John O'Corn has to be put in a position to maybe take some early shots on 1st and 10. Last week, 7-16. They can't be one-dimensional and expect to come into Columbus and win this rivalry game.
Buckeyes won the toss. They deferred. We saw Peppers back deep. We see the kickoff of Tyler Durbin, one of the seniors who was just honored here. This will be fun, folks. Let's hope the game lives up to the hype. It's a short kick. Keep it away from Peppers. And it bounces. Got to cover it. And the Wolverines do dive on it at the 22-yard line.
From the legendary Horseshoe here in Columbus, we've got the greatest rivalry in all of sports, and the stakes couldn't be higher as number 4 Michigan comes into town to take on the number 10 Buckeyes of the Ohio State University for the Big Ten East title. Hi, everybody. I'm Gus Johnson, along with my partner, Joel Klatt, and welcome to Columbus, where these teams come in with identical records, but they've traveled different roads to get here. For Michigan, glorious season. After losing to Notre Dame week 1, they've won 10 in a row. Yeah. Partner, they have their quarterback, and they also have the number 1 defense in America.
I'll tell you what, let's start with the quarterback, because Shea Patterson, when he transferred from Ole Miss, he took this team and this program from very good to great. His efficiency in the passing game and then his ability to convert on 3rd down with his feet has been so important, in part to keep this defense off the field, keep them rested, to maintain that number 1 ranking. They're fast, they are aggressive, and they are star-studded with Rashawn Gary, Chase Winovich, and Devin Bush. They cannot wait. Number 1 defense going against the number 2 offense in all of college football. Should be an outstanding matchup.
As for Ohio State, different story. They've walked a tightrope this season, but they've gotten behind.
Yes.
The golden arm of Dwayne Haskins.
I love this kid, right? And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for really carrying this team to his 10-1 record. Dwayne Haskins 4 different times has thrown for 400 yards, and they've been important yards because they've needed them, like last week against Maryland in a 52-51 win. He's needed those yards because the defense has not been up to par for the Buckeyes. They have struggled with youth, inconsistency, missed tackles, and missed assignments. This defense has to play their best game of the year if the Buckeyes want to beat the Wolverines.
Time now for the Progressive Insurance Game Countdown. 2 different seasons, same result. Today, the Wolverines and Buckeyes play for a shot at the Big Ten Championship and possibly beyond. This is the game, and it's on Fox coming up next. Fox College Football is sponsored by AT&T Business. Time now to join the 3rd member of our team on the sideline, the All-American girl, Jenny Tan.
Gus, 45 years ago, a young Jim Harbaugh sat in the stands of this game at the Big House, and he was hooked ever since. 32 years ago, Urban Meyer started his coaching career right here. He said to us yesterday, a win today would mean everything. 2 coaches born at the same hospital in Toledo, Ohio, within 6 months of each other. They've been destined to be a part of this one. The Buckeyes might be underdogs. They're not worried. They're not feeling the pressure. Then there's Michigan. They haven't won here since 2000, but this year is different. This year is the revenge tour. Chase Winovich reminded me before the game, this one, it's the final stop on the tour.
All right, Jenny, thank you very much. And Winovich is expected to play. Ohio State won the toss, deferred. Michigan to receive. Oh, what a spring-like day it is here in November. 47 degrees. The temperature is supposed to go up into the 50s by the time this one ends. So Ohio State will kick it off. Hallbeal will send it away. Ambry Thomas is the deep man for the Wolverines. Over 100,000 ready to watch the greatest rivalry in all of sports, and we're underway from the shoot. And this ball will be returned from the 10 by Thomas, still on his feet, breaks the tackle, and a solid run.
Gets a quick lead, and that is so important, in particular when you're talking about two teams that are such great front runners.
Michigan won the toss, will receive. Will somebody turn on the air conditioning? It's hot out here today, folks. It's only 35 degrees in Michigan in November. Perfect day for football in the Big Ten. As we take a look at the series note, it's a series that dates back to 1897. Michigan leads it, but Ohio State has won 7 in a row. And 14 of the last 15. Michigan has won 31 of the 58 games here in Ann Arbor, but not since 2011. Last year in Columbus, Dwayne Haskins threw for 396 yards and 6 touchdowns, 2 each to Chris Olave and Paris Campbell, as Ohio State beat Michigan 62-39 and advanced to the Big Ten championship. The Buckeyes have already clinched a berth in the Big Ten championship game next week in Indy. No matter what happens today, the Big Ten East title is in Columbus, 3rd straight year. Giles Jackson, the deep man. Blake Hallbeal will send it away. November 30th, 2019. Ohio State, Michigan, and we're underway from Ann Arbor. This one kicked out of the end zone, so Michigan will start from the 25.